Well, I'm so glad you are all here. Glennon and I are excited that this year our symposium is going to be October 1st and 2nd in Anaheim in person. And so that's good news. And Glennon and I did a walkthrough of the convention center, so we have a really good sense of the space you would be presenting in. So it's feeling real for us. So before I go any farther, I'll just introduce myself. If you don't know who I am, I'm Karen Warner. I am Associate Director of STEAM Initiatives at the CDE Foundation, and my teammate, Glennon, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Sure, and we've got a small enough group that we can maybe just have everyone do a quick introduction. Again, I'm Glennon Stratton. I'm Karen's teammate with the STEAM Initiatives at the CDE Foundation, and we're so excited to have you here. Anthony, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Anthony Kwan, the STEM coordinator with LA County Office of Education and a STEM Symposium committee member.
Yeah. Among many other hats that you wear.
No.
Savannah.
Hi, my name is Savannah Linares, and I have a few titles, but the main one is just like a teacher in the Central Valley. I teach science and leadership. And then I was recently asked to join the Governor's Council for Physical Fitness and Mental Well-being. So that's also something that I'm working on.
Congratulations. That's really exciting. And I think you have some expertise from both being a science teacher and this new role that you're taking on that would be very welcome in a proposal. For those, I saw a couple of people just join us. We're just doing quick introductions, and then Karen's going to take over and talk us through some tips, and then we'll be available for questions. I think next on my screen, Val, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Val Hogwood. I'm with Houghton Mifflin Harcourt and just listening to get ideas of proposals that we might put together.
Excellent. Welcome.
Thank you.
Kevin, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Let me.
Hello.
There we go. My name is Kevin Obillo. I'm a fifth grade teacher in Santa Ana, California. And I wrote my dissertation on increasing STEM participation amongst females and minorities through a robotics education program. And so I'm looking to try to present something on that.
Amazing. Kate, would you like to introduce yourself? Good to see you again, by the way, Kate. I know we've been sharing calls, and I see we have a couple of other people joining. I'm not going to do introductions for everyone. I think we're going to have people drop in and out. So Kate will be our last introduction, and then we'll turn it over to Karen for kind of tips and tricks.
Sounds good. Thank you. And everyone's doing such amazing work. My name is Kate Wybazal. I'm from PBS SoCal KCET, one of the PBS stations in Southern California. And our team here has been working on some STEAM curriculum that aligns with some of our local content, and we're hoping to share it with you all at the symposium.
That sounds amazing. Well, I really appreciate you all coming here kind of towards the end of a busy day, I have no doubt. So what I'm going to do is give you kind of a little bit of an overview, and then I'm actually going to go in and give you a tour of what the submission process looks like so you'll know what to expect and word counts and all those sorts of things. And then I'll just be available along with Glennon for any specific questions that you may have. So we're here to help you be really successful putting in a proposal. So I'm going to share my screen to help you follow along with me. I did put in the chat the link, so if you are the type of person who likes to back and forth on your own, you can. Otherwise, you can just follow along with me. So here's a picture of Yami. She's presented at multiple symposium, and part of the reason you were even wanting to do this, I'm assuming, is you want to be plugged into our great STEAM community and really share lessons learned or things that you're really excited that are new for you. So what we're going to talk about is I'll give you some recommendations, tips, we'll take a little tour, and then I'll be sure to leave plenty of time for you to have some Q&A. So this year, if you're following along in the presentation, you'll be able to click on that link. But our mission this year our mission statement is advancing justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion in STEAM. And so we have different strands that flow from that, and I'll be getting into that a little bit later, but we will be asking in the submission process of, your content for your presentation, how does it align with the different strands and pathways? Because people coming to the symposium, sometimes they already have in mind the types of things they want to learn, and they're there for a specific purpose. And so these keywords and themes will help them to go to the places they want to go to. Some people just like to kind of surprise themselves with the content that they see, but we will ask you to do some alignment with that, and I'll show you in just a minute what that means. So some of the benefits, I think, I was a presenter years ago at STEAM before I had this, at the STEAM Symposium, before I had this position. And, it really does give you a chance to demonstrate your leadership. And this really is a national event. We have so many people coming from different states and actually from different countries. So it gives you a chance to connect in with a lot of different people and be able to show the things that you're learning. And to be able to network that way, I think is really powerful for as we're doing our work. And there's also a $100 honorarium, really just thank you for helping make this a great symposium. So what people, we survey every year, what are you looking for with our participants in the symposium? People love hands-on activities. So if you're thinking that your presentation would have some hands-on component, that's something that many people are looking for. If it's something that's more interactive, you're not really building something, but there's a lot of interaction and people get to really exchange ideas, they're looking for that kind of participation as well. And then sometimes people's presentations are more aligned with the facilitated collaboration. And so as you're going through the submission process, we give a little bit more detail on which that is, but we will ask you, what are you thinking your presentation, what makes sense for how you want to present your content so that we can, plan for the best presentation space for you. Every year people say they want actionable takeaways. So as you're building your presentation and you're sharing out resources that are important to you, or maybe resources you've created, people do want to feel like they can leave, and the symposium is going to be on a Saturday and Sunday this year. So imagine from their point of view, maybe it's the next week, maybe it's the next unit they want to incorporate something they've learned from something that you've presented. So what's something that is a takeaway for them? Sometimes people are looking for really a deeper dive. There's a lot of resources. Maybe it's almost like you could be drinking from a fire hose. Here's all these resources, and people want to digest it later, but they want you to give them the links and point them in the right direction so that they know that these are some resources that have really helped you in your work. And if they feel like the type of work you're doing is what they're doing, they really appreciate knowing where you go for inspiration and where you go for great content. And then they want a way to connect. So a lot of times after the symposium, I know that this was true for me when I was a presenter, is I would get emails later from people. They wanted to connect and say, hey, I tried this and this worked well, or this didn't. Could you have some ideas? Or I'm having trouble remembering what you said. So for you to give that more personal touch and be able to give ways for them to contact you after the fact. It never hurts to have a catchy title, because we will likely have hundreds of presentations that people can choose from. And so when you're submitting, if you could come up with something that will grab attention, it'll help people to find you in that list of presentations. And we will ask you to give a description we have reviewers. Every presentation is reviewed at least 2 times. And so you'll have a more lengthy description so that you can help our reviewers really imagine what it would be like to be in your breakout room. And then we'll ask you to take that big description and make it a more pithy title or a more pithy description so that people can see your title. They can see, oh, I get the gist of what they're going to be talking about. And especially if this is like intended for, teachers grades 3 through 5, put that in there so that you don't have like a high school person come and feel like, wait, this doesn't really relate. So give them a gist and let them know who the audience is it's really intended for. And as much as you can, make it really visual and not too many words, because people are really coming to hear what you are having to say, and the visuals for sure can back up what you're saying, but they're really wanting to engage with you, engage with the other people in the room. So I'm going to pause there in case I have some questions before I put us on our little virtual segues, and we're going to go take a tour of the submission portal. So if you can come off mic or mute if you would like to ask a question, you can put it in the chat. I've got Glennon here to help me. All right, Glennon, if you will be my helper, because once I jump into this portal, if a question comes up, stop me, because we're really here for them, but I'm going to jump in.
Yeah, so again, if you have any questions, you're welcome to come off mute at this time, or type something into the chat and we can address it as it comes up. Karen's going to give a tour of the submission process, and then we'll be available for additional questions after that.
Okay, so I've popped out of my presentation now, and this is like the home page. It's a little, notice of, hey, you've landed in the right place. Gives you a little more details on like what the selection criteria are here, where it's talking about, we really do want presentations that are aligning with, are you talking about sustaining the workforce, recruitment and retaining? Is it about sharing the joy of learning and access to great quality STEM resources and lessons and units? Is it about the STEAM community and bringing together informal partners and families and the schools, community schools? So it gives you a little bit more information there. So all you need to do is get started.
Karen, can you make your screen full screen for folks?
Yes.
Or a little bigger? Yep.
Glennon, does that look any better?
Yep.
Okay. So the first time you come into this portal, it's going to ask you to create an account. And so here it's need to create an account. So if you've never been in there, which most of you I would think haven't, then you will create your account. Of course, I've been in there before because I've tested it. And so it pops up the second time you come in, it knows who you are. And so your email address and your password. And so I can't do create an account because I've already done it, but this is where you would click for that. So now I'm just going to log in.
For those of you that are returning presenters who have submitted in the past, it will likely request that you create a new account for a new year. It's technically a new platform, a new year of data and stuff. So apologies that you can't use the same login from prior years, but just create your account. It takes 2 seconds, and that'll be used to monitor all of your submissions.
Right, and I should mention that, I use my work account here. Use the account that you want me to contact you when I say, hey, your submission has been accepted. Sometimes people enter this in with a personal account, and then I send the acceptance to their personal account, but they aren't really checking that often. And so then I don't have, this is my only way of letting you know the status. So think carefully which email address you want me to be contacting you with, because it will make a difference. I don't want to delay letting you know the status. All right, so when you come in, it says, here's my submissions. I've done multiple ones. As you can see, yours will be blank at this point because it'll be your first time. But the reason I think it's good to just notice this My Submissions page is now that I have submitted it, I can withdraw. So if for some reason I'm like, you know what, I don't want to do that one. I was going to do it with this co-presenter. That's not going to work out. You can always edit it up until the deadline, which is March 25th at midnight. And so this is where you have a chance to come back at any time. You'll have your confirmation number. I'll show you how you get to that. And just so you know, once you hit submit, it's not like it's written in stone. I will not send anything to the reviewers until after the deadline. So I'm going to click get started because I'm ready to get started. So this first part is all of your information. If you are doing this for somebody, I would like to know that, but most of the time you're just going to say, yes, I'm going to be the primary presenter. It has this information in there because I set up my account when I logged in. And then you will put in your organization, your job title, a phone in case we can't reach you via email so that we can let you know of acceptance, and then optional information here if you'd like to provide it. This information that you provide, I can use it to let you know about your status. So that's saying that you agree that I can use this information to contact you. And then we do want to make sure that we are being as inclusive as possible, that we are, and that we understand who we're serving with this symposium, and specifically who I'm serving, because I'll be the person working with you for all the presenters. And so I need to make sure that I'm doing the best job I can. So if you will give us the things here. And then if you have a co-presenter, you can add your co-presenter by clicking on this, and it's going, for co-presenters, it'll just ask you their name and their email address and their organization. So it's not all this other information for your co-presenter. If you do not know your co-presenter at this time, because the symposium isn't until October, that's okay. You might let me know in August. Once you've started up the new school year, maybe that's when you'll see who could present this with you. So you can add your co-presenters now. That would be great. It's okay if you don't know that yet. And I'm going to go ahead down here and save and continue with that information. Now comes the important, really important page, which is your details. And so that you don't have to go to a lot of different places to find information. Some of it's what I'm saying to you now. Some of it is like what I was mentioning, where there's different strands and pathways. On this page, you're going to decide how does the content align, and you're going to be giving me some information so that I can make sure I get the right reviewers looking at your content. And so here briefly is our 3 strands. And so the presentation should align with cultivating the joy of learning, STEAM content integration, and student engagement. And there's a little description here of what that means. It could be that your presentation aligns more with empowering STEAM communities, collaborative partners, educators, families, and the students themselves. And again, a little bit of more description. And then maybe it has to do with strengthening the educator workforce with that sustaining diverse and inclusive STEAM leaders. So between those 3, I know that there could be some overlap there, but choose which one you think most prominently is addressed in your presentation. So I'm going to just kind of randomly select this one for my test. So the other thing is we'll have a mobile app that will go along, so all participants can look at the presentations that they can choose from when they're there at the symposium. And these pathways are basically like tag words that we will have assigned to your presentation. So let's say someone is coming and they are an early educator and they want to go to things that have to do with their role as an early educator. And let's say for me, let's say as I'm filling this out, I'm going to be speaking about that. I'm going to be talking about maker spaces, and I'm going to be talking about social justice. So those are the 3 tag words I want to assign to my presentation. So as people are looking to see where they should go, and if one of these 3 aligns or all of them, they know that my presentation is the right place to be. Your presentation title, so I'll put here flashy title. And you have 60 character limits because we will be having this in the mobile app, and we don't want such a long presentation title that it makes it difficult for people to really read it in the app. And then we have several formats that you will get to choose from. So it is 45-minute facilitated discussion. So this is where people are actively trying to solve problems. Maybe there's a panel discussion. Then there's 45 minutes hands-on, and that's where this is more learner-driven, open-ended. They're going to be tinkering, hacking, and that sort of thing. Interactive, so maybe you're doing lots of polls and pair shares. Maybe there's create something and doing gallery walks. That would be more of an interactive kind of presentation. Or another option you have is a quick talk. Sometimes people have like one resource or one thing they want to focus in and go deeply with, or just one thing they want to have help people make so that they have like a little sample to take back to their classroom. And it's not really 45 minutes isn't really what they need. It's more of this quick talk. So that's what you could choose for that kind of presentation. The next part, I had mentioned before that there's going to be a section here, and this is for your more detailed description. So this is for reviewers only. So the participants will not see this. It doesn't show up in the app. It won't show up on our website. This is for me and the reviewers so that we get the idea, like you're painting the picture for us of what the experience will be. So I'm just going to put in here test. This part is the brief description, and this is what all participants will see along with your title, your name, your bio, and your headshot. So you want to think carefully about, here's everything, but what will really, it's like your elevator pitch almost of how, if you were trying to quickly tell somebody about your session, that's what would go here. And there is a 300 character limit for that. People want to know what grade span or grades this most aligns to, so that if they are wanting to go to things that are more aligned with their own role. So please select which will be associated with that. And you can also put that in your brief description too. If this is only for kindergarten teachers, please let them know that. And then we want to know what sort of immediate takeaway, actionable kinds of resources, because that helps paint the picture for the reviewer on, what is it that people are going to experience when they're with you. And this is really getting down to when you were putting together this presentation, the experiences you're sharing, how does that relate to our overarching theme of really advancing equity and bringing these wonderful experiences to not just all children, but each child. And so how is what you're saying going to be able to relate to that in a way that the reviewer gets the idea of how this aligns to our overarching mission for the symposium. We're almost at the end of what you need here. Which state standards is it aligned to? So if you'll let us know, and it might be multiple. And if it's something that we haven't listed, we've got a place for that too. Or it might be you're speaking and it has nothing to do with the standards. This is a different kind of topic. You can just let us know that that's not applicable. And if you already have your presentation ready and you'd like the reviewer to see it so they can see how fantastic it is, we give you a place here to put like your Google Slides link, and they will go and check it out, and that helps again paint that bigger picture of what you're planning to do. If you do not have your presentation yet, it's still an idea, you're just not ready to share, this is not mandatory, it is optional, but it does help reviewers if you have it. We do ask for Google Slides. You might be creating in other ways, but for us to share things on the mobile app, Google Slides is really the way for us to be able to easily make this available to the thousands of people who are going to eventually be able to have access to the resources. And I will be sure that I email you by middle of May of the status of your submission. The system that we're in now does not allow me to contact all, let's say you had 5 co-presenters that you added in, it only allows me to contact you. And so we're asking that you, whoever submits this, be the primary person. And if you hear, hey, we were accepted in mid-May, please let all your co-presenters know. I will be able to contact them after that and give additional details about what to know before you go to Anaheim in October. but we really do need the primary presenter to be the point person for me so that I can make sure you get the best information about acceptance. Okay, so now I'm going to save and continue that. It will give you a chance to go and check out everything that you've said. I will say that if you just spent a whole lot of time free thinking and typing in your big description, go ahead and copy and paste it somewhere else, because you will not have, you can come back into this up until the deadline, and then you won't have access back into the portal. And so every year I have a couple of people who are like, I'm not quite sure, I did several submissions and I'm not sure which one this is. And I can go into the system and do that, but you will be my best friend if you do that for yourself, because I sometimes can get hundreds of presentations and it's hard for me to track what everybody has submitted that way. So once I've looked at this and I see it's what I love, that's great. I can finish later if I want to wait. And if I say, you know what, I love this, I've done fabulous work, yes, submit it now. It's going to give me a confirmation number. And it'd be great if you wrote it down, but it's okay if you don't, because whatever email address you provided with this account, it's going to automatically send you a confirmation email. It'll give you this confirmation number, and it'll remind you that I'll be letting you know by mid-May of your status of this. And we love it if people put in, as Anthony was saying, multiple presentations. That's great. Go ahead and do it, and you will get a separate confirmation number for each presentation that you submit. And then I will let you know which one of those, or multiple ones, happen to be accepted. And that is, I can go back to my submissions up here and I can see all the different ones. I can choose to edit them, and that's pretty much it. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen so I can see all of your faces and see what it is you're still wondering or curious about.
I have a question about the application portion. So on the section where it basically gives you a spot to put any materials that will be shareable, can we just, like, if we have a whole like Google folder specific to this, can we just link that there? And then you all have access to kind of see what we would be willing to give out or provide.
Sure. Because the only people who are going to see that are the reviewers. So this is basically another chance for you to paint that picture for the reviewer of, like, you know what, I know what I'm talking about. I'm excited about this. I have these resources to share. And it just helps them to know, if it's something that you're still going to create, you can put in there, I plan to, by October, I will have, this, and this. So if you already have something, and I know that they would enjoy being able to see it, because it's easier to see sometimes, show me, than to have to imagine.
Awesome. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to pop back.
Are there any other questions? Really, that concludes like any kind of formal introductions. The rest of this time that we're here, we're going to hang out here for the next half hour in case people drop in or have specific questions. And we're happy to answer them. So at this point, feel free to just come off mute, or if you're in a position where it's better to do it via the chat. Otherwise, we hope you have a great night, and we really look forward to reading your proposals.
Hey, Glennon, can I just
Yeah.
add to this as well? So as somebody who had to do a lot of the reviewing for these, here's a tip for you. Please be sure that you are also addressing the strand that you are talking about, so that if it doesn't make sense to us, it may not necessarily get accepted, or it may be suggested that it goes somewhere else. But if you can include that language from the description into your actual workshop description, that helps quite a bit.
That's a great point, Anthony. For the reviewers, I come up with a certain amount of things that I ask them, like, does this seem to align with the strand that they chose? Because if it doesn't, then as you said, it could be that the presentation, it's like, oh, that doesn't make any sense and it gets rejected. But I do have a place where reviewers can say, it doesn't align with this, but boy, does it align with this. So let's change it so that it shows up properly in the mobile app. But again, that just causes a lot of back end conversations and trying to decide. And if you know what you're aligned to, let the review make the job easy for the reviewer. They'll be like, bless you.
I'll also add this as well. In the presentation details, it does help to be as detailed as possible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we give a pretty big word count there, because yeah, it's like sometimes people know what they want to do, but you have to be able to describe it so somebody else can figure out what that 45-minute or 20-minute session will be.
I'll just add that we ask for detail, but it's 2,000 characters. It's like 2 paragraphs, 3 paragraphs. It's not an onerous amount of detail. We don't expect you to list out standards or engineering and science practices numbers or things like that. It's just really give us a sense of what you're going to be doing in your session, more so than getting into the very weeds of like specific content standards or things like that. We don't want this to be an onerous application process for you. We want it to be a 10 to 20 minute, a 10-minute thing if you have all your thoughts together, recognizing that it probably takes half an hour to put your thoughts together. But once they're together, the submission process should go fairly quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And Glennon makes a great point about that presentation component. So if you're saying that it's for the audience, let us know what it is that the audience are actually going to be doing. If they're just going to be sitting and listening, that may not necessarily help the presentation, but give us more details. So what will the presenter be doing? But more importantly, what are the audience, your participants, going to be doing in that workshop?
Right. I'll just show this. Here is, because I, will train the reviewers on exactly what we're looking for. And here's something, this is about the length of a detailed description. So it's going into, a little bit into what people will be experiencing. This happened to have something to do with NASA and rockets and connecting, that sort of thing. And then, let me click. And then their brief description distilled down to just this. And then, so it just sort of shows you that this isn't like 2 pages. It's much, as Glennon was saying, 2 to 3 paragraphs and you're good.
Any other questions while we're here? We're here for you. So if you don't have any questions, this is kind of the conclusion, and we'll hang out because it's an office hours format. We expect some people to maybe drop in over the next 30 minutes. But if you're satisfied and don't have any additional questions, thank you again for being here. We really look forward to collaborating with you.
And Glennon, I'm going to put my email address in the chat. So as you start to work on this, and if you have questions, that's what I'm here for. I'm here to help you be successful. We want you to be presenting at the symposium. So what can we do to help you put your best foot forward? And that's the part of my job I love. So I'm here to help. I love all parts of my job.
I won't lie. There's parts of my job, like grant reporting, that are not top of my favorite things to do list, but I do enjoy getting to work with Karen and all of you.
But if you get to do that and have a really good cup of coffee, it makes it a little, like a spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down.
Yep.
Thank you so much, Megan.
Karen, should we go ahead and stop the recording? And if any other questions are available, we're here. But thank you, everyone.